There's a $1 trillion shift happening right now in the markets, and most investors aren't paying attention. What's going on, guys? It's Will, and quantum computing is about to change everything. From trading AI, sure, or maybe data processing, but every single industry is going to be impacted. And companies like Rigetti, IonQ, D-Wave are leading the charge. And also, you're going to have NVIDIA investing and placing bets in these companies, quietly investing in the quantum space. And then there's one company, QSI, that could be unlocking some of the potential with software, which we will get into. So I'm going to go over 5 companies here. Let's take a look so you guys know as we get into this. We're going to break down here in the quantum stock list. We're going to break down some of these companies, their market potential, and how quantum computing is set to disrupt not just the stock market, but also other industries faster than you realize. And if you're serious about staying ahead in the markets, guys, we just released a free virtual stock trading masterclass where I go deep into market predictions, how you can get StockMate for free as a bonus. Plus, you'll get access to our brand new AI powered predictive trading tool, which is Mercatus, before anyone else. So the first link in the description to go watch that video. If you missed it yesterday, in that release, it's there. So let's jump in. We're taking a look here at what is Rigetti stock first. Today, Rigetti stock, it had this downtrend. You can see it happening here. It's pretty eminent. We were trading it early this morning. And to be honest with you, if I am showing you guys my wins in my losses, we had some great wins, made a lot of money last week. But today, Rigetti stock, we did not make any money. In fact, we lost about $200. Some of the other portfolio moves were down. I think Microsoft was down, not really, but Nvidia was up, but our portfolio is down about 1.5% today. So in our live session this morning, we were looking at Rigetti, which is one of the earliest publicly traded quantum computing firms. If you take a look at Rigetti and you look at them as a company, they've recently struggled with some earnings, but when you look into some of their tech that they have, you can go check out their website, see the different components that make up their quantum computers. They have a competitive edge, which is they're already putting their quantum computers out to the public. So I can, on this website right now, I can click Get Quantum, and I can actually order my quantum computer, probably through a little bit of vetting. They're not going to send these to anyone. And then they also have, outside of some of those things that are taking place, they're making some advancements. You can see their 2-qubit gates at 98.7% fidelity, and that's improving. We see that improving actually, and that's good. They got partnerships with NASA, and of course they got the distribution channels over on AWS. Now, when you look at this company, they're kind of quantum hybrid. Some of these companies are simply hardware. Quantum computing is going to come down to some of the software that's implemented in the quantum computing. And so one of the things that's most likely contributing to the advancement, you saw they have partnerships with AWS here with Microsoft. And those are things that are going to speed up that development of software, because people are going to use the Rigetti through the cloud. They're going to test out these QPUs, these quantum processing units, alongside their companies, their GPUs, their AI, and feed it into the quantum computer to see what type of high-level solutions they could solve. Rigetti has been known to be solving some tremendous problems. And while they're just starting out, they got some big investors. If you take a look at some of their institutional investors, you can go institution holdings. According to NASDAQ, you could find some of the companies that invest in Rigetti, including BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley, as you can see there. So keep in mind, Goldman Sachs there as well, all investing really on the last day of the year. You see that? Last day of the year, they were buying. So just keep that in mind. The investment angle with Rigetti is that it's highly volatile. You can see there's risk involved. It was at $1, shot up to $21. Then it crashed. Now it's recovering. This is a recent sell-off that was kind of key for its direction that you don't like to see. when it breaks this pattern of this consolidation, you start to see it sell down and break some of this previous resistance and support. The question now is there's another level here, right here at about $10. We'll see how it does as it approaches that level. If it bounces, that would be good indication we might see just some more volatility in the consolidation. But again, it's got a long ways to go to recover back to previous highs. It's going to have to reach about 100% increase to get there. And in that process, we could most likely see some volatility here in the near term. Long term has a lot of things that they're going to have to overcome. One of the things with Rigetti, if you look at their stock, is going to be their financials. And while I really like their tech and what they're developing, they're going with the software. There's a lot of stimulus that's impacting this company. For example, we can look at these financials, but you also have this will impact all companies in quantum, which is the Quantum Reauthorization Act. It's a $2.7 billion bill that hasn't quite passed yet, but is expected to pass here. It's the reauthorization. So this is a bill that already passed back in 2018. And before it was about 1.5 billion. Now they just upped it to 2.7 billion. And it stands to directly impact the funding for NASA quantum. So companies working with NASA, which we see Rigetti working with NASA. You can also see IonQ mentioned. Microsoft is mentioned in there as well. And so these are things that I want you guys to think about. These types of bills do play a big role in some of the financials because these companies, the biggest struggle they have is plugging into businesses. If they plug into a business, then they'll see more revenue. If they're not plugged into a business, they're working on it, it's going to be higher risk. They have to secure government or public contracts. And if they do, they continue to do that, which they are still working on those things, then you start to see upside, and it could be massive. Their year over year is still down a little bit. Net income in that quarter, their net income was increasing 26% year over year, then 33% in that quarter. You do see the improvement in net income. It's every single quarter you see net income become better. So that's something you like to see, year over year improvements. The net profit margin still down, but improving year over year. Net in cash, they see that negative. They're getting funding. They got years of runway, but you still got to just, keep that in mind. They haven't been beating their revenue and earnings, so you're buying what could be. It says something there with those institutional investors, does it not? So how we're going to approach this on the chart, this most likely would be the bounce that we'd be looking for somewhere around here in that $10 range. If it's not going to hold this right now, there's no indication of a reversal. We'll have to see how it reacts here at this next level at around $10. If it reaches it today or in the next few days, we like to trade those dips. Today it dipped and then it kept on dipping. So we just got to make sure that we take a look at some of the near-term volatility. We'll see if any opportunities present themselves at market open tomorrow. So when it comes down to Rigetti, they're one of the top tier players we'll be watching. The other one we'll be watching is D-Wave, QBTS. QBTS has a similar pattern. See them sell off today about 9%, but they're selling off down to this support. So they've had a little bit of a different trend. You can see they did crash at the same time. They did soar from $1 up to $11. But you did see after this recovery in the crash, similar to Rigetti, they've been consolidating. Now you see them sell back down. This is a very clear level. It could bounce somewhere in this $5.50 range. There's been a lot of consolidation there. Most likely, what we could see is it sell back down to the support here. And that's healthy. This is what we see with Rigetti. This is what we see with QBTS. Rigetti breaking pattern a little bit. QBTS is staying in pattern. One of the upcoming events that we will be at is in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's at Qubits 2025. This is D-Wave's event that they're hosting at this Phoenician resort, which we will be there. I'm really excited for that. My assistant just booked that and I'm pumped. And when we're here, we're going to get some of the inside info. We're going to check out and see what's going on with this event. What is taking place in the quantum space from D-Wave's perspective, what they're seeing firsthand. Because when Jensen crashed the market, when Jensen said Quantum is 10, 15 years away. The response from all these companies was, we're doing it now. IonQ, Quantum is now. If you look at D-Wave CEO response, you could see he responded to Jensen. We watched this video in a YouTube video. He basically said, right now, we're having real world value of our quantum computers being used by businesses. So he basically said that was a ridiculous comment. It doesn't make any sense. We are being used right now. He even said that NVIDIA's CEO Jensen is dead wrong about quantum. So, you know, when you're firsthand in it and you can see what companies they're working with, and again, we're on Qubits here. We head into their website. You can kind of see this event counting down. It's about 40 days out. They're going to be revealing their latest quantum innovations, their product roadmaps, and a vision for advancing quantum. You're going to learn about latest groundbreaking quantum research underway from labs and universities around the world. And it gets you kind of thinking about NVIDIA quantum events that's coming up. NVIDIA has an event that is in March. Let's see if we could search it. March 20th is when it is. And they got this quantum day for illuminating the future of quantum, and NVIDIA backs these companies. You could see it's interesting when you had those comments back at CES, because look at what companies are going to be there. You got D-Wave is going to be there as well, QBTS, IonQ, Quantinium, Rigetti. The reason that's important and why I see this as interesting, why make those comments? We've talked about it. Why make those comments and then be so heavily into it right now? Maybe it's true. Maybe it is a lot further away. When we talk to Microsoft, and if you go to Microsoft Azure, you can see some of these. You could plug into IonQ or Rigetti. We'll get into IonQ in a second. But QBTS has their own cloud. They have their own setup. And when you submit any problems through the cloud to D-Wave, so let's search into D-Wave. If you submit any problems through the quantum computer, through their website, through the cloud here, you can get an answer back within about 2 minutes. Apparently, no other quantum computing companies are able to do that. IonQ, Rigetti, apparently it's taking a lot longer to get answers back, whether it's a couple hours or a couple days. And with D-Wave, the system they set up, they're getting answers back within a minute. And they've run millions of problems through the and data points through their quantum computers through the cloud. And they've seen IBM and Microsoft reported more usage. So Microsoft here, you could see you could tap through the cloud. Microsoft said they are using quantum computers more now than they have ever before. And IBM reported $1 billion in increased revenue. I think it's IBM billion quantum. Let's see. IBM has earned $1 billion from quantum. So that's their cumulative quantum business. It's not small. It's starting to grow. And so when you see that, they started in 2017, so it's growing. But when you look at IonQ, or you look at D-Wave, the market is growing. Microsoft is saying that the market was expected to grow from 100 billion that it's at now to over $3 trillion in the next few years. 100 billion that it's at now, and IBM's already in the billion in revenue there on quantum, and you could look at the market caps alone are over 100 billion. But when we talk about the market caps or the market in general of quantum reaching into the trillions, I mean that's a huge opportunity. It makes sense that you have NVIDIA invested in them. So QBTS, we're going to be going to that event. We're going to see what it's like, and I want to get some more insider information. They're operating differently than most other quantum companies, and that's what I like. There's also some really good resources to read into about if you're a quantum skeptic and things like that. You know, I tell people, they say I'm a skeptic. What if it's like NFTs or whatever? That's ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous that you would ever compare this to a fad or something that's going to come and go with quantum is because we had every single country meets for quantum. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a quantum initiative worldwide here for 2025. And they were celebrating the 100-year anniversary of quantum. And every single company, or every single country met, and I think it was United Nations. Let me check. It was, I believe. Yeah, International Year of Quantum. And every single country came to basically get in and say, yeah, we'd like to learn how to develop quantum. It's every single country coming together and saying quantum's a big deal. Do you see that with things that are fads? No. Do you see increased revenue of $1 billion when it's just coming and going? Do you see the biggest investors and institutions going into quantum and investing if it's just coming and going? No, of course not. What we are seeing is a massive growth opportunity in quantum. So that's why the market's doing what it's doing. It's going to be the backbone of the next level of AI in the AI boom. When we get into AGI, or we get into a point where you have AI scaling to the point of we have extreme problems that the only reason we're not able to solve this comes down to computing power, which we're not even really there yet, unless we're solving things on a chemical reaction level, or the battery, improving the battery, for example. That was millions of data points to improve it by 70%, the lithium-ion battery, or finding cancer cures, protein peptide binding, and running millions of data points through 20, 30 years worth of research. Yeah, that's going to make a difference, and that's what we already see happening with quantum. But we're talking about the investment angles for these companies. And so the first one that I think is also a pure play, and I hate to say the word because you just have to be careful saying a pure play, but QBTS, that's a nice one. Rigetti's a nice one, but IonQ has been interesting. Look at that sell-off, down 11% today. This is not a crash, but that's a significant drop in IonQ. And so when you have a sell-off like that happen, now we're getting to this next level. This is this next resistance and support here. See this resistance, support, resistance. That's where we're at. We'll see if it bounces. No indication of a bounce just yet. That's a big sell-off on IonQ. IonQ is a pure play. They're focused on trapped ion quantum computing, which theoretically offers higher fidelity qubits than superconducting systems like Rigetti. Their recent performance, they're one of the better performing stocks only because of their stability. And I say that while they're down 11% today. But you could see, like, for example, when they soared, they didn't maybe soar as much. When they sold off and crashed, they didn't crash quite as much. When they recovered, they didn't quite recover as much. Now today they sold off, you could see that, but it's almost like sideways. We're back exactly where we were from a price point of December, and where it also was in mid-January. I mean, it's kind of going sideways. You can almost like see this sideways motion starting to happen. And so with IonQ, they have a competitive edge. One of the competitive edges is that they're here, check this out, on Microsoft. You got IonQ and really great information on how to use it and how to tap into it. If you go onto IonQ, they have a competitive edge because they have partnerships with Amazon, yes, like Rigetti, but also Microsoft and Google Cloud. So that's going to allow those quantum computer uh, clouds to be accessible. And that's easy integration for any applications because a lot of companies run on Microsoft or they run on AWS. And so basically, Microsoft or AWS or Google says, oh, yeah, here's a quantum computer. You want to run some of your biggest problems in your company into this quantum computer and see what you can come up with? Yeah, that's pretty awesome value proposition. And so the investment angle for partners and investors is they're seeing this being used. You could see Lockheed Martin, Air Force Research, and I believe Laboratory. I'm not too sure there. You got Google Cloud, Amazon Bracket, and you check out some of their partnerships. Do take a look. The thing about IonQ, it's kind of similar to a lot of these stocks in the quantum, is when you look at their financials, you can see powered by atoms. They got some cool stuff there. Their revenue's up 102% year over year. It's up 102% year over year. But in that process, they're still unprofitable. They are still unprofitable and dependent on future technological breakthroughs because, they're one of the strongest companies with Microsoft being one of their big investors. But in the stock market, there's going to be volatility in the near term. They're beating their revenue. They're still missing the earnings per share. You see their net profit margins improving. But I do think that there's going to be more of potential for them to be a player with IBM, NVIDIA, Rigetti, and they're here with this already growing market cap of about 7 billion. And you can see that they have there's a lot of hype articles, once in a lifetime opportunity, boom or bust, quantum computing leader. I would say they are more of a leader. And there's a lot of institutional interest. When you see NVIDIA, so you saw some of their partners back on their website here. And these aren't small partners. These are the biggest companies in the world. These are the most technologically advanced companies in the world. And so the institutional interest alone is going to be big for them. So, and one of the things too that we didn't cover on D-Wave, because I just want to jump on D-Wave a little bit more because they're also struggling pretty big today, down about 9%. There's a lot of skepticism over the long-term viability, but the company has real clients. They're already serving commercial clients. Unlike a lot of the competitors that you can look at, they're kind of like research mode, but they're also working with NASA. So it's not like they don't have legit clients either. So QBTS is one that's interesting because they say that the short term look at D-Wave is pretty speculative. And I could agree. There's some things like they say they're getting into industries and you see that, but some of the industries, they might be, more temperamental. They might be more experimental to see how they're working with those companies in those sectors. And so I think that'll be one of the things that we're going to see is where's the revenue coming in from? Are they able to focus specifically on that part without maybe with still sustaining their partnerships in the industries that are close to breakthroughs? Because what happens is they might have one market that does really well and they kind of focus on that market and they can't maybe stick it out in other ones long enough to see those breakthroughs. If they could stick it out and they keep getting funding, which they are, we could see them be a major player in quantum. They're already a major player, but I like to see that they're still maintaining that partnership with NVIDIA and that they're going to the events at NVIDIA on March 20th. And so we'll see how that goes. The next one is on the watch list is QSI. We don't go into QUBT so much. QUBT to me looked just, we never covered it. We haven't done any videos on it really. I think we did maybe one video, but I just didn't see as much development in the stock that made me confident to cover it for you guys. So we're not going to go into that one. QSI, though, is one we also have 0 videos on. But the reason that I have it here, even though it's, still in research in development, pretty heavy right now. It's in the heavy phase. QSI stock. Let's see. They have some major interest from NVIDIA and other major players for their biotech applications of quantum computing. So, for example, Quantinium works with Amgen, I think it was, or Amgen has their own computer, quantum computers for drug discovery. And they've had a really consistent run, Amgen. And QSI builds the software. They're still in research and development, and they're more speculative. When you go into the overview, there's still $350 million market cap, which isn't even close to a lot of the other quantum companies. Year over year, they're up 252%. If you go back in the quarters, you can see they have some green numbers, like it's improving. You see that? It's kind of improving quarter over quarter. And revenue is still, I will see, the revenue is ramping up. It was at 400K in 2023, then 450, then 620, then 787. Their expenses were ramping up about the same increments. Their net profit margin still down. Their earnings per share, they were beating, but the revenue was down and missed in the last quarter 3 there. We'll see what happens in quarter 4 2024. But the thing is with this company is you can see with their financials, they're starting to maybe improve a little bit, but they're still really in the early stages. They're not on the radar of a lot of companies. So if we go Quantum SI, we take a look at their company. So you can see this is protein sequencing. So when we talk about Amgen, one of the big deals was that the companies that are in, for example, drug discovery, they're learning how to do, see, protein sequencing is one thing. Binding, like when it comes down to a vaccine, it's like you have these peptide proteins, and like if you can manage to bind them, then you can have a vaccine for that disease or that strain of maybe cancer or what have you. And so if that's the case and they're working on those things, quantum computers are something that play a key role in that, because when it comes down to moleculars, when you get down to ionic, or you get down to the electrons, or on something as microscopic as binding peptide proteins, to be able to calculate things like that have such high frequency movements, electrons move, they move extremely fast, or chemical reactions move extremely fast, or these things, they have so many possible options that you could try and bind peptide proteins or find a cure for something. And quantum computers can run simulations and run through and find the answers 10 times more efficient than any other thing. So you see streamlined protein screening with power of protein barcodes and next generation protein sequencing. So detecting amino acid variants using next gen protein. Their biotech breakthrough award, they won that in 2023. You can see some of their recent articles in February. They got their next generation protein sequencing at USHU PO 2025. That is an event. You can see here that they're going to be presenting at. So that's interesting. But the thing about this company is they're very small. They're starting to maybe get some potential growth, and I'd like to cover it a little bit more. There's some more things that I see, like their financials improving, that gives me a little bit more confidence to show you guys the stock, because I don't want to show you guys something that is garbage. I want to show you something that is really improving, and I see that they are in an innovative market that's expected to grow tremendously. They're maybe quantum related. We'll have to see how quantum related they really are. I'd like to see like a legit quantum computer or tech. But when it comes to, yeah, protein peptides, and this type of analyzing the data, quantum computers will most likely help accelerate that process. Now, quantum computers are efficient, but to be effective, you have to have them plugged into something. And these are the types of problems that most likely would be plugged in to quantum computers. And we'll see how it does. You can read a lot about how their process works and what they go into. And we'll see what companies they're working with as well. So between that, you have all these companies, a lot of these companies getting attention from NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is already in GPUs. As they get into QPUs and become a company of more value, they're going to increase in share price. We could see a tremendous surge recently. They sold off down to $112 and then recovered up to about $140 that they're at now. They're just kind of in the same boat here as IBM. You're going to see them investing in AI, quantum computing, the quantum cloud provider angle is a big deal as well. You see AWS, IBM, NVIDIA taking that route. And if you want a safer bet for investing in the quantum market, definitely NVIDIA is going to be the way to go. You get exposure while still kind of benefiting from the AI dominance that they're going to show here in 2025. And they're going to continue to see that. So I think quantum computing is one of the major technological advancements that we're going to see take place in 2025. And these companies are at the forefront. They have extreme volatility, they're up and down, but I want you guys to know that I personally think that D-Wave is one I'm watching. I'm going to go to that conference next month. But I'm personally looking at these in a more long-term light while playing the short-term volatility, but not expecting that 8 months from now, these are going to be to the moon. But looking at them and saying, I'd like to play some of these patterns that are developing on the short term and then hold for a very long time in some of these companies for the long term. Does that make sense? So I think these quantum stocks, they're great for opportunities. We'll see if any present themselves at Market Open. If you guys would like to join me, it's the second link down below. We go live every day at Market Open there in Stockmate. It's the second link. And I want to remind you guys, we had our masterclass. It's the first link. And if you'd like to see our AI tool, Mercatus, that's using predictive analytics and quantum-inspired computing principles to help traders get ahead, it's the first link in the description. It's a free class. It's available on YouTube. And we weren't going to do it on YouTube, but we had a video do very well. Thank you guys. Growing so fast. Over 15,000 subscribers is unreal. And we're going to 100,000. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next video. If I hear your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing. You check Stockmate, second link. Check the first link. There's all these links. Maybe you comment down below. What do you think? All these things. All right. See you guys in the next video. Take care.